Danger Tearlaments are probably the best deck of the format at the time of recording. So if you guys ever wanted to learn how to play the deck, or just kind of learn the mindset that goes into playing the deck, because it isn't always a linear combo deck. There are many different lines you can take, and they all kind of depend on what your opening hand is and the cards you mill and the cards you draw and such. So hopefully you guys are able to learn something from this video, where I'm going to be going over some test hands for my Danger Tearlament deck profile that I recently showcased on the channel, where I played Spell Canceller. So just keep in mind, this build specifically tries to get Spell Canceller out. There are many different builds of Danger Tearlaments out there, like Nightmare Griffin and stuff, so the lines might be slightly different for those. But yeah, hope you guys still learned something and enjoy the video. But with that being said, we'll finish cutting and start off with our very first going first test hand. Alright, so for our opening hand, we're going to open Thunderbird, Gizmek Orochi, Rhino Heart, Desires, and Rhino Heart. So this is pretty nice. We have Rhino Heart, a couple extenders, and Desires. We're going to start with Desires, just so we know what we're working with and what we banish, so we know what to send off of Rhino Heart. Desires is going to banish the top 10 cards of our deck. As long as we don't banish our snow or anything, we should be good. So yeah. These banishes are fine, even though we lost double Happiness. As long as we have one in the deck, we can keep putting it back. We lost the third Rhino Heart as well, but really just not a big deal. The two extra cards that we get are Primeval Planet and Dark Ruler, so even though Dark Ruler isn't doing anything going first, it will help pad the hand for a card like Thunderbird. So we want to keep the planet, I guess, a secret, because this is able to add a Sheeran later on as an extender. So we're just going to start with the copy of Rhino Heart. See if our opponent stops. If they don't, great. We can use Rhino Heart. I would personally send Happiness specifically here for a couple of reasons. Happiness you probably won't get onto the board, so that means it won't protect you from like Nibiru later on, but also you just want this like safe at the bottom of your deck for something like Gizmek. You don't want to accidentally banish your last copy of Happiness. So we will activate the Happiness effect, and here since we have an extra Rhino Heart in hand, I would actually put the Rhino Heart back, and the reason being is because this allows us to keep the additional level 4 on the board for a Dweller or a Dugars later on, which can be very important. So we're going to put back the Rhino Heart and the Happiness. We are going to summon out our copy of Kick Kalos. Kick Kalos effect is going to search us a copy of Merly, and then I know I mentioned we had Thunderbird earlier, but we probably aren't going to need it this hand. We could end up going this, search Shaylin, and then you could just Thunderbird, like try to hit. It doesn't matter which one you hit, all of them are pretty good. But even if you do hit the Thunderbird, like get sniped, the game still play. So I guess, you know what, we'll just show what happens if we go here, activate Thunderbird. Worst case scenario, Thunderbird gets sniped because our opponent hits a 20% chance. What are we able to do with what we have so far? Well, we're actually still able to do quite a bit. Kikalos is going to be able to target itself, special summon out the Merly. The reason you want to pop Kikalos is because you want as much mills as possible, so you have a better chance of milling either your snow or your additional tier names or dark extenders like Destrudo or Zephyros. So we are going to do that, activate the effects to mill 8, sending the top 8 cards of our deck to the graveyard. We do hit both a Merly and a Sheeran, which is great. Because we have not used both of their effects yet, so we can use the Sheeran. One of them is going to summon Garura, the other one is going to summon out a copy of Mudragon. We are going to bring those out, and then at this point we have used all copies of our Tearlaments names, so this does open up us a bit to a card like Nibiru, but I think we have to make this play, because otherwise we won't get, we'll be forced to use Gizmek Orochi as an extender, and that gives you the potential to banish our key 1-ofs. So summoning this out onto the board, so you can see we already have access to like 3 different darks if we really need to. But I'm going to first make a copy of our Sprite Elf using the Merly, just because the Sprite Elf is not only a part of our end board, but it also gives us an additional extender with the Merly. So that's exactly what we're going to do, summon the Merly back, and then from here you can declare Dark with the copy of Mudragon of the Swamp. Linking those off for a copy of Curious, we'll go Chain Link 2 to draw off of our Garura. So we are going to draw a copy of Soliek and then resolve Curious. since at this point we actually don't have either Snow or Spell Canceller in the graveyard, your first priority is going to be Snow. Just because Snow, at the very least, plus the Shiren is going to give you the copy of Dweller. Whereas if you send Spell Canceller, you have to bank on milling Snow for sure. But yeah, we definitely send Snow, and then activate Curious's effects, mandatory to mill the top 3 cards of our deck to the graveyard. So we'll send Bigfoot, Foolish Burial, Spell Canceller. Perfect. If we missed there, we also had a chance with Shiren, ditching this, milling an additional 3 cards. So like, yeah, these are very, very good mills. But like, I'm just showing you, even if we completely whiffed, we would at the very least have a Dweller, plus like a Sulliek, and then the Elf is bringing back the Merly, and then we have a Snow in the graveyard as well. So, but the good thing is we actually milled our Spell Canceller, so we're actually able to do our pretty insane combo. We'll go Zephyros bouncing back the Perlarino. The reason why we don't care about keeping it on the board is because if we're under Spell Canceller, it's not going to have an effect anyways. Next up, you want to overlay the 2 for Degara. It's very important you leave this Elf zone open because we are going to be special summoning the copy of Spell Canceller to that zone. So now, opponent can't use spells, they can't target this with card effects, and then we're also going to come up with ways to protect it. So, essentially, in my deck, I played Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax specifically. The reason being Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax has the effect where your opponent cannot target monsters for attacks except it, so that protects your Spell Canceller from getting run over. In hindsight, I shouldn't have played this, it should have been Zeroboros. So assuming we don't have access to this, what you could do here is try to go for like IP later on or something. If you don't play that, you probably play Griffin as well, so you can turn these 2 into a Griffin just to open up some zones. But like worst case scenario, we have a Snow, we have a Sprite Elf bringing back Merly, and then we have the Sulliek to send the Merly and trigger it. So, yeah, we actually have quite a bit here. It's a little unfortunate that Curious is kind of stuck here because otherwise we'd be able to make IP right away. But assuming we play Crusadia Avermax, this was kind of the board that I'd be going for. You can also go activate Snow here, banishing random 7 cards. Destrudo targeting the Snow, and then link the 2 into IP if you want an additional layer of protection, because you can go into Unicorn right after, and you definitely have enough cards to Snow again right after that, so it's completely up to you. So let's just assume we do that, because I'm just trying to show you guys like the most powerful board, like just without like any restrictions or anything. We can just do this, Destrudo targeting the Snow. The life points just really don't matter. We will special summon our copy of IP Masquerena, set the Sulliek, and then from here we have Spell Canceller, so your opponent can't use spells. Sulliek to negate your opponent's monsters after you summon them out with Merly. Merly Fusion can fuse into Kaleido Heart to protect your board even further. Avermax is protecting like your small monsters like Elf, Masquerena, and Spell Canceller from being run over. And of course, after you Snow them, you can IP Masquerena away the Snow to put it back into the graveyard. And if for some reason your board somehow gets outed, you have Perlarino for follow-up. So, quite an insane board. This is kind of what I was going with when I was building the deck. Just the protection of Avermax I felt was really good, but in practice it wasn't really needed. So, in the future, this is probably just putting an IP here is already good enough. Yeah, so that's going to do it for the going first test hand, and we're just going to quickly go over a going second test hand. This deck wouldn't be the best deck of the format if it didn't have powerful going second options, just because you can't always rely on winning the die roll and being able to go first. You definitely need your deck to be able to break boards, kill OTK your opponents, go second, and that's also what this deck has a very powerful strength in, and hopefully I'll be able to show you guys some of the plays you can make going second. Of course, we're not going to be assuming our opponent has X, Y, or Z disruption. I'm just going to be showing you guys some of the different things that you can do and some of the different things to consider. So finishing up with our final cuts, we will be going second. We are opening up a pretty decent hand. We don't have a going second card until we draw the copy of Droplet, which is actually really good. Because now essentially we have something, if we wanted to, that can't be responded to at all, and we can negate essentially our opponent's entire board. So if opponent doesn't do anything, like right away we can go Terraforming and then Chain Droplet, just like assuming we send 3, negate 3 guys, and then the terraforming will search a Perlarino. And this is really powerful because now not only are opponent's monsters smaller, we also have a Destrudo in the graveyard, and we kind of got rid of the terraforming for free anyways, so the droplet really just didn't cost that much. And just keep in mind that I play droplet in my deck specifically, but this is just showing like it can be any going second card. If you just assume this is like a blank going second card, depending on which one you play in your deck, it can be pretty good as well. So we'll activate the Perlarino. Essentially, when we're comboing with like a small amount of cards, you definitely just go for Rhino Heart here. You don't want to take a chance with like Merly or with a card like Sheeran, for example. So we're just start with this. Dump any Tearlaments to the graveyard. I usually go with Havness, just because Havness is the one that's least likely to be on the board, and therefore it's least likely to protect you from Nibiru later on in the turn if your opponent has it. So we'll put away the Havness and we'll put away the Rhino Heart, summoning out the kits. We'll go Kit and Fieldsville. Fieldsville can destroy one additional card on the field, like a back row perhaps. Kit is going to add us a copy of Merly. And then from here, we are just trying to kill our opponent. So essentially, you got to keep in mind that our monsters are very big on the field because of the Perlarino. So if we're able to put a lot of fusion bodies on board, that's really good. We have cards like Dark to steal stuff from our opponent's graveyard to try to link climb, so that can also be very threatening. So let's start with Danger Nessie. So it doesn't really matter at all which one we hit, and I'm just gonna just pretty much randomize it. And no matter which one we hit, we still should be in a very good position. So even if we hit the Nessie, we can go Nessie effect, search any danger. You should probably grab a danger that guarantees a summon here, just because you don't want to, like, let's say Mothman, and then if your opponent hits it, you might give them a chance to draw into a hand trap or something. So we'll just go Jackalope again. You know what, we'll just say worst case scenario, we hit the Jackalope. We don't get to trigger any of these. At the very least, Jackalope is going to be able to let us special summon out a danger from our deck. Let's special summon out one with a weird typing, so Bigfoot, just so we have access to Curious plays later on. From here, we are going to activate the kit on itself, special summoning the Merly, and then sending the top 8 cards from our deck to the graveyard. So this mill is going to be big because we have the potential to trigger a lot of effects. So we'll send the top 8. We do end up sending the Sharon and Reinhardt. This is incredibly powerful. Just because we aren't using the Solic this turn, and Rhinoheart acts as an additional extender by sending the Solic away. Sharon, of course, is going to be able to fusion summon, putting away any amount, really, like depending on the situation. Let's say, for example, we were just trying to break our, like, we have to crack another card on our opponent's board. We can put away these monsters to summon out a copy of our Kaleido Heart. And then from here, we are going to activate the Solic effect. Solic effect is going to grab us, like, any Tearlaments monster. We can grab, like, Sharon, for example. And then just from here, we have access to our copy of Curious already. Because we do have the Destrudo in the graveyard from earlier on in the turn. So we are going to just Destrudo. And then we are going to link away the Beast, the Dragon, and the Aqua in order to make our copy of Curious. Now, Curious, if you played Zeraboros, it'd be a lot better because you can just send Snow and it becomes very big and very easy to game your opponent. But regardless, you have access to another fusion here. So far we've used Sharon and Havness. So if we just send a Merly to the graveyard, Merly's going to be able to special summon like a Garura. For example, Garura is 2k, and then it does double damage as well. So we have just a bunch of big bodies on board that can clear our opponent's board. Or let's say for some reason we aren't able to completely kill our opponent, we could simply just send the Snow, mill the top 3, activate Snow, summon itself back, like clear their board, and then from here you have access to a copy of Dweller, or you have access to Dugars to special summon back the copy of a Spellcaster. So you have a lot of options when going second, and it really just depends on how well you build your extra deck. I will admit my extra deck is probably not the best to go off of because I was playing Avermax and I think that was a mistake. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. I'd be happy to make more of these if you want. I really like playing this deck. It's my favorite type of combo. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to check out the deck profile that I put up on my channel if you haven't seen it already, so you know the different choices that I played and why I played them. But yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.